Body of Christopher Creed, Chapter 13. I knew we were in for it the next morning, about 2 seconds after I climbed on the school bus. Alex, Ryan, and Renee were staring at me, all pop-eyed. I wanted so bad to not deal with them, but I had to make some attempt to act normal. I plopped down beside Ryan in front of Alex and Renee. Allie sat down in front of me. Ryan was looking me up and down like I was purple. Alex's and Renee's faces crept around so they were practically licking my ears on either side. "Hear you had a bit of a run-in last night, bro," Alex said. "We overheard my dad telling my mom that he almost had to book you last night." "That's sweet, Tori, real sweet." Renee smirked, and I rubbed my eyes, which after 3 hours of sleep felt like bowling balls in the sockets. "Allie, how come you're getting on the bus on our street?" Ryan asked. Allie was running her mouth to this girl sitting beside her, a quiet girl in some of our honors classes. I knew she was doing it so she wouldn't have to explain herself to the audience behind her. Their eyes came back to me. I stuttered. "Mrs. Creed has been bugging Allie. We wanted to spy out her window and see if Mrs. Creed did anything weird over there, you know? I guess they didn't." Kerblam! The power question came barreling out of Alex. "What were you doing with Bo Richardson?" "Well, he was there, and I watched the back of Allie's head, almost hypnotized by it. My dad said Mrs. Creed thinks he killed Chris." Renee's eyes burned on me. I saw Allie's shoulders freeze up. I felt like food for 3 hungry snakes. I'd known the night before that all this new stuff could make me feel sort of out there compared to my friends, but I hadn't known it would happen so fast. I just felt through my gut and blurted out what I felt. "You guys, this whole thing has gotten way serious. It's too serious. I don't want to yap about it. I don't want to joke about it. I don't want to talk about it." They made all the "I'm insulted" groans, but I didn't let myself get sucked down as they filled the air with comments. "You think we're gossips? Thanks a lot," Ryan went. "Tori, bro, we're just glad you're not Bones this morning, man. Bo Richardson? Whatever happened? We assured our dad that he forced you into it. Pulled that stiletto he carries around on you or something." I stared at the back of Allie's hair. It would kill Allie if I didn't do something. I got up, walked toward the front of the bus, and plopped down beside Lyle Corsica, who was known as a science geek. There were no other empty seats near him, so there was no way they would follow me. I started a conversation with Lyle, like Allie had started with the quiet girl. I didn't care that they were gawking, probably wondering why I could run my mouth to Lyle Corsica about I don't even remember what, but I couldn't talk to them. I kept telling myself I didn't care. I figured I would start to believe it by the time we got to school. I didn't see any sign of Bo in the cafeteria, and hoped he wasn't still at the cop station, as in his old lady was out drinking again and never showed up to sign him out. My mom said she had to stop there anyway and would make sure he'd been picked up before she dropped Greg off at school. Since I didn't really feel like talking to anybody, I just went to homeroom early and fell asleep with my head on my desk. I woke up because someone was nudging me, and when I opened my eyes, the room was half filled with kids. I shot my head up as Alex quit nudging me from behind. Our names, Adams and Arrington, meant I sat in front of him. There was no getting away this time. "You didn't even hear the bell?" Alex asked me. "No." I rubbed my eyes and shivered. I couldn't believe I slept through a bell. "You look like you're on crack." "Well, I'm not," I snapped. "I only had next to zero sleep. Look, whatever's going on with you, Tori, I'm not the enemy." My eyes moved past all these kids who were finding their seats, pushing each other and fooling around. Lyle Corsica was sitting just about in the middle, looking up from an Algebra 2 book. He was watching Justin Briggs and Mike Carroll, 2 jocks, arm wrestle in the front row. He looked back and forth from Briggs to Carroll sort of cautiously. He's wishing he could jump into Carroll's set of muscles and walk around in them. He's wishing he was somebody else. He's wondering why his old man had to pass on chicken legs to him, while Carroll's old man is a tennis pro. I had never given Lyle Corsica a real thought before, and all of a sudden I felt like I could look into his head, see his thoughts, see pain there. I realized Alex had his hand cupped to my ear and was whispering in it. Lyle's head turned, and his eyes caught mine this time. Adams and Errington whispering. Nobody's ever whispered anything to me. Nobody thinks I'm that important. I grinned at him. I've been running my mouth to him on the bus about the weather, the puddles, the snow coming, all this stuff. He should have thought I was insane. Now here he was looking at me, all admiring because some bro was giving me some secret lowdown. I wondered if being a geek made you a better, less judgmental person. Why in the hell did you pick up Bo Richardson? I can't see why we would protect you if you won't even let us in on what you were doing. I jerked my ear away from Alex and turned to stare at his concerned face. Protect me from what? I asked. He looked all around the room in amazement. Flocks of kids were all doing their usual homeroom things. Talking, laughing, finishing up the homework they didn't do before, but they had fangs like snakes that came out when something rubbed them wrong. I knew it. I'd been part of it. They could bite. They could ruin my life. Turn me and Allie into a sideshow. You want all these people looking at you and thinking you're a candidate for future convicts of America? Alex asked, right on cue. No. I had 2 years to finish in this high school. 2 years is a long time. Leandra stuck her head in the door and waved at me. She looked all cute in her jeans and this little tiny sweater. Your chem teacher's still out. I'll see you third period, lunch. I'll buy you french fries. Your favorite breakfast, she said in that southern accent that drove me nuts. She left and I felt Alex's eyeballs burning a hole in my cheek. We're your friends, he reminded me, in that same voice as the teacher. You're going to fail if you're not careful. I wanted to tell him parts of it, but I knew I'd be screwing up his version of reality by telling him Bo Richardson was a nice guy. And if I told him Bo was going out with Allie, forget it. He'd tell Renee, and it would be all over school. Guess who McDermott's doing it with now, oh, by the way. I just got up and wandered out into the hall, forgetting to take the hall pass. I was trying to think up what great lie I could tell the nurse so she would send me home. I leaned against the lockers, thinking how 24 hours had turned my whole life into one lie after another. I heard my name in some whisper and looked behind me. Allie was out in the hall, waving the pass from her homeroom so I would follow her. She moved quickly toward the emergency exit, and I followed her. She shut the door behind us and stared at me. You look terrible, she said. I sighed. This is like some stage show, Allie. I'm lying my ass off every time I turn around. My folks, my friends. I'm about to lie to the nurse. It's like being an actor. Only you never get off stage. It's complicated. I want to cut out of here. She lit a cigarette and blew out a trail of smoke. You want to go home? Yeah, I muttered. Go back to sleep so at some point I can think again. Tori, I'm really sorry. She looked sad all of a sudden. I shouldn't have brought you into all this. You're not cut out for it. Do you see what I mean about your perfect life? I didn't say anything. I couldn't think. Look, she said, dragging on the cigarette, and I could see her fingers shaking. Whatever you have to do, just do it. If you don't want to talk to us anymore, it's okay. If you have to lie about us, just do it. I don't want to do that, Allie, I snapped. I looked out into the woods and sighed. Creed, he's got a real talent for creating problems, even when he's gone. Yeah, she laughed sadly. She stared off into the woods, too. It was a calm, sort of gray day with no wind. I could sense her scanning the trees, like maybe Creed would just materialize and walk out of them or something. I have the diary in my locker, she mumbled. I went into the girls' bathroom this morning, sat in a stall, and read some more. Kept me from having to be in the cafeteria, you know? I nodded, watching the woods alongside her. Toward the end, he went to a psychic with that Isabella. Really? I looked at Allie. That didn't seem like something a sheltered kid like Creed would do. Allie nodded. She was a relative of Isabella's or something. Psychic told them she saw death in the woods, the death of one of them, I guess. I felt the skin on my arm starting to crawl as I stared out towards the woods again. I was thinking, you can be pretty sure it wasn't her death. She's from Margate, by the ocean, and there aren't any woods in Margate. For some reason I thought of Alex and me playing in the burial ground when we were about 7 and walking these woods. We used to walk through there, telling stories about the ghosts of dead Lenape Indians. I would get an image in my head of an Indian ghost with a mohawk and stone earrings and all those feathers. This Indian ghost was always half crouched with a bow and arrow and poised in his arms, staring at me like I was an animal and he was hunting. One time when I was 7, something materialized about 20 feet in front of me. It looked exactly like this image I had conjured up in my head. Crouching Indian, staring, ready to shoot an arrow through my heart. I screamed and pointed, but as fast as the Indian materialized, it disappeared again. I got so freaked that Alex half dragged me by the hair back to his dad, the shrink. Alex hadn't seen it. Dr. Arlington told me that by virtue of the fact that the Indian looked exactly like something I had long been imagining, it had to be my imagination. He somehow managed to calm me down. He was a grown-up and a very confident doctor. Alex and I ended up playing in those woods a lot as kids, and I didn't constantly look over my shoulder. I never did see that Indian again. But now I was remembering it and feeling like I could see a dead Chris Creed just materialize and walk out of the woods. I watched between the trees, watched for a skinny blonde kid to appear and stare back at me. For the first time ever, I thought maybe Dr. Arlington was wrong. Maybe I had some special gift to see things like that. Maybe I saw the Indian exactly like I had been imagining him because the dead Indian somehow put the image in my mind before I ever saw it. I shivered, felt like I was losing it. A sensation came up behind me, breath on my neck. I stood there frozen, knowing somebody was standing there staring into the back of my neck, just like before in the basement. I didn't want to jerk around like an idiot this time, but I finally knew it was real because Allie jumped around. She flew behind me, and then I turned around. She was kissing Bo, really big. I let out a sigh of relief and started to say, hey, but they were busy kissing. I figured I would just go pass off my lie to the nurse. I started to move past them, but Richardson grabbed my arm. He gripped me like that until he finished kissing Allie and turned his black-eyed stare to me. Your old lady, man, she's a rip. She walked into the lockup this morning and had Chief Bowen's nads in her handbag like 10 minutes later. He laughed. God damn, next time I get caught breaking the entry, I know who to call. It was a relief to hear a loud voice. I grinned, shaking off my spooks. So she had to get you out? Yeah. My old lady wasn't home. I lay down in a cell and crashed out. Lucky thing she decided to come by, I said, looking him up and down. He was wearing sneakers and smelled like a shower. His hair was still kind of wet. Last night he was brought to the cop station in his socks. How'd you get other clothes? Your old lady took me home before dropping me off here. She likes me, I think. She's just doing her job, I thought, but didn't want to say that. So I guess you broke into the Creeds? No, I didn't break in. You won't believe what happened. You know old Justin, Chris's younger brother? He shook his head like a dog, like he couldn't get over something. He came to the back window just as I jumped onto the ground. He heard me. I seen him and figured, oh shit, well, you have not because you asked not. So I asked him. I said, Justin, how's about loaning me your brother's diary and not telling your old lady, huh? He's got Chris's grin, but goddamn it, didn't look the same on him. Looks evil. I think it is evil. He disappeared up the stairs like lightning, comes back about 10 seconds later. Guess what he's holding? Bo was laughing in hoots, but I could only stand there with my jaw dangling. I couldn't get over this. You mean he got it out of Chris's picture frame? No, I mean, he had gotten the diary out of the room sometime before. He must have known about it somehow and was scared his mom would get it. He had been switching hiding places. Why would he give it to you? I asked. Because of his old lady, he says to me, take it, get it away from my mom. Just don't forget to give it back to me somehow. Allie made this victory laugh. Damn, he's got guts. There's this pen in it, right? Already I'm hearing cop cars, but I'm thinking they're behind me. They think I'm jumping the fence to run out the next cul-de-sac. Instead of pushing the diary into the bush where it could get rained on, I just whip out Creed's pen and write Allie's name on it. What made you think to do that? Allie breathed. It just came to me. He shrugged like it was nothing. I've been lying for years. Then I wanted to get the book off of me and out of the cop station bad enough. I ain't never lied that perfect before, God almighty. Hey, I was sorry to do a lie around your old lady, man. She is really juice. But I didn't know what else to do. If they found it on me, that was my life's end. There's no way I would spill on Justin. Get the kid in deep shit with his old lady. So, he knocked Allie's chin with his finger. You're not all pissed at me for telling Tori's old lady about Albert the Wonderschlong, are you? Where'd you sleep last night? At Tori's. Greg did too. She looked kind of worried. What did you say about my mom? Is she in trouble? He shrugged, looking worried himself. I don't know. You can't think about that, okay? Mrs. Adams is going to talk to your mom. Ellie rolled her eyes and looked panic-stricken. Bill grabbed her by the shoulders. Look, I see this happening a lot on my side of town, and it sucks. Parents get all drunk and disorderly, do all these insane things, and the kids protect them like it's their duty. Maybe she'll face the music if she has to. You ain't her Jesus, okay? Ellie tried to nod, but all of a sudden it's like I was reading her thoughts too. Where will we go? Where'll all my stuff be? Will we have to live in my dad's one-bedroom apartment in another state? Will everybody find out about my mom? I rubbed the back of her neck and Bo lit a cigarette and handed it off to her. That seemed to make her feel better. She exhaled and stared at the trees again. She told Bo most of the stuff we had read in the diary, including the psychic she read about in the girls' room. The psychic told him she saw that he would die in the woods. Allie nodded with a shudder. Something like that. He just shook his head. I'm thinking we should find her. Or at least we should find that babe he was going out with and talk to her. I watched him stare across to the woods. He muttered, I'm worried the body will show up. If there's a body, it can look like a murder. If he hung himself or shot himself or did something to himself that somebody else could have done to him, Mrs. Creed is going to howl murder until the sun is scared to come out. Maybe the girl knows something, or maybe she's hiding him, and we can all relax. I told myself I would have thought of that, except that I was really exhausted. The bell rang. Bill flicked the cigarette into the dirt and glared at me. Listen, Adams, whatever you do, don't come up to me in school. Don't even look my way, okay? Allie don't need that right now. If something happens, like you hear something from your old lady or something awful comes down, just come out here. Inside, you don't know me from Adam. Got it? I got it, but I didn't like it. I figured, why should I be scared of all those morons passing judgment on me? But I remembered how I felt in Homeroom, and I also knew how Allie would feel. She had enough to cope with. I'm going home anyway, I told them. I didn't feel like being forced into any of these retarded lying games. Allie shrugged, kind of wide-eyed, and said, Thanks, Tori. Thanks for everything. I said, You're welcome. But my voice kind of cracked. And that's chapter 13 of The Body of Christopher Creed. Thanks for listening.